उन्नति रावणचारी ओ जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी ओ जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओ जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। गंगा मैया यमुना मैया की। तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की। दाय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll say the prayers together. Narayana namaskritya naranchaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Thank you, everyone. So today we're going to be continuing our reading from Canto 3, chapter number 32, which is entitled Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. And we're going to be reading from texts 37 all the way to 43, which is the end of the chapter. And we're going to be looking at verse number 42, which is the verse of focus for today. So let's start with the translations, and we can all maybe start from here.
My dear mother, I have explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. I have explained to you as well how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them.
So here Kapil Dev is explaining to Mother Devahuti about how the process of devotional service is like the main river, and all the others are just tributaries. He also explains the 4 different social divisions. Devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. Anyone remembers the 4 different social divisions we read? Huh? So what Kapila Dev was explaining was the 3 are in the material modes of nature, and 1 is in the transcendental mode, which is the pure devotional service when it is not tinged with the material desires. Okay, text 38.
There are varieties of material existence for the living entity, according to the work he performs in ignorance or forgetfulness of his real identity. My dear mother, if anyone enters into that forgetfulness, he is unable to understand where his movements will end.
Yeah, so once we enter into the forgetfulness, we get into this vicious cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. And once we get into this vicious cycle, it becomes very difficult for us to come out. How can we come out? It is only by the mercy of our spiritual master, of Guru, the Shastras, that we are able to actually take advantage, to be able to go deeply, to be able to cut those knots which are in our material heart. Okay, text 39.
Lord Kapila continued, this instruction is not meant for the envious, for the agnostics, or for the person who are unclean in their behavior, nor is it for hypocrites or for the person who is proud of material possessions.
So now Kapila Muni is going to explain what are the qualifications to receive this knowledge. Which knowledge? The knowledge for bhakti, right? Devotional service. How we can actually get out of this material world. So first he explains the qualifications of people who should not receive this knowledge, and then he explains the qualifications of those who should receive this knowledge. So let's go to text 40.
It is not to be instructed to persons who are too greedy and too attached to family life, nor to persons who are non-devotees and who are envious of the devotees and of the personality of Godhead.
Okay, text 41. So now he's going to explain who should it be given to.
Instruction should be given to the faithful devotee who is respectful to the spiritual master, non-envious, friendly to all kinds of living entities, and eager to render service with faith and sincerity.
Text 42.
The instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to a person who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment for that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness.
And the last verse of the chapter.
Anyone who once meditate upon me with the faith and affection, who hears and chant about me, surely goes back home, back to Godhead.
It's a similar verse, right, in Bhagavad Gita. What is the verse in Bhagavad Gita? Anyone remembers? Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, right? Anyone who meditates upon me with faith and affection, who hears and chants about me, that person is surely going to go back home, back to Godhead. Okay, let's go to 42 and we'll do the Sanskrit. Bahirjata viragaya Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya suchaye Yasyaham priyasham priya Bahirjata viragaya Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya suchaye Yasyaham preyasham priya Bahirjata viragaya Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya suchaye Yasyaham preyasham priya
Bahirjata viragaya
Bahirjata viragaya
Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya
suchaye
Yasyaham priyasam priya
Yasyaham priyasha priyaha Bahirjata viragaya Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya suchaye Yasyaham priyasham priyaha Bahirjata viragaya Shanta chittaya diyatam Nirmatsaraya suchaye Yasyaham priyasham priyaha. We'll do the word for word. Bahi, for what is outside. Jata viragaya, to him who has developed detachment. So does anybody remember Bahir? We sing Bahir every day. Narsingha Arti, right? Bahir, Narsingha, Hridaye Narsingha. He's outside and inside. Bahir, for what is outside. Okay, Shanta Chittaya, whose mind is peaceful. Diyatam, let this be instructed. Nirmatsaraya, non-envious. Shuchaye, perfectly cleansed. Yasya, of whom. Aham, I. Preyasham, of all that is very dear. Priyaha, the most dear. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to persons who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment for that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness. Purport. In the beginning, no one can be elevated to the highest stage of devotional service. Here, bhakta means one who does not hesitate to accept the reformatory process for becoming a bhakta. In order to become a devotee of the Lord, one has to accept a spiritual master and inquire from him about how to progress in devotional service. To serve a devotee, to chant the holy name according to a certain counting method, to worship the deity, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita from a realized person, and to live in a sacred place where devotional service is not disturbed are the first out of 64 devotional activities for making progress in devotional service. One who has accepted these 5 chief activities is called a devotee. One must be prepared to offer the necessary respect and honor to the spiritual master. He should not be unnecessarily envious of his god brothers. Rather, if a god brother is more enlightened and advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should accept him as almost equal to the spiritual master. And one should be happy to see such god brothers advance in Krishna consciousness. A devotee should always be very kind to the general public in instructing Krishna consciousness, because that is the only solution for getting out of the clutches of Maya. That is really humanitarian work, for it is the way to show mercy to other people who need it very badly. The word Shushru Sabhirataya indicates a person who faithfully engages in serving the spiritual master. One should give personal service and all kinds of comforts to the spiritual master. A devotee who does so is also a bona fide candidate for taking this instruction. The word Bahir Jata Viragaya means a person who has developed detachment from external and internal material propensities. Not only is he detached from activities which are not connected to Krishna consciousness, but he should be internally averse to the material way of life. Such a person must be non-envious and should think of the welfare of all living entities, not only of the human beings, but living entities other than human beings. The word Suchaye means one who is cleansed both externally and internally. To become actually cleansed externally and internally, one should chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, or Vishnu constantly. The word Diyatam means that knowledge of Krishna consciousness should be offered by the spiritual master. The spiritual master must not accept a disciple who is not qualified. He should not be professional and should not accept disciples for monetary gains. The bona fide spiritual master must see the bona fide qualities of a person whom he is going to initiate. An unworthy person should not be initiated. The spiritual master should train his disciple in such a way so that in the future only the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be the dearmost goal of his life. In these 2 verses, the qualities of a devotee are fully explained. One who has actually developed all the qualities listed in these verses is already elevated to the post of a devotee. If one has not developed all these qualities, he still has to fulfill these conditions in order to become a perfect devotee. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation again. This instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to the persons who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment for that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness. So here we actually see that Kapila Muni is explaining what is devotional service to his mother Devahuti. He started explaining this all the way from chapter number 25, and now we are in 32. So many chapters he's explaining what is devotional service. Why? Because devotional service is the main river and all the others are tributaries. That is the only way in which we'll be able to make progress in our human form of life. For us to be able to leave this material world, so we're able to go back home, back to Godhead. So, devotional service is the highest activity in this life. And the qualities we should develop are given here. So first, Kapila Dev explains who shouldn't receive this philosophy. Right? He explains that the envious cannot understand. If you look at text 40, first he says in 39, this instruction is not meant for envious. So any person who's envious, that person is not fit to receive this knowledge. So enviousness is something which we have to give away, right? There's an example given in our Shastras in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, he inaugurated the movement in Srivas Angan. And at that time, before he opened the storehouse, right, the marketplace was open, it was a closed group who were doing Sankirtan. Right? Only the close associates. So there was a Brahman there who was envious of Mahaprabhu. He was thinking that why only a few people are actually invited. So once Mahaprabhu, he was taking bath in a river and the Brahman was there too. And immediately he actually took his Brahman thread, tied it around his finger, and he cursed Mahaprabhu. And he said that, I curse you that you will be bereft of material pleasures. What did Mahaprabhu say? Hari Bol! Thank you. Hare Krishna. We also see what are the effects of somebody who is envious of others. Right? The repercussions are many. Another example given is of the same pastime where there was another Brahman who got envious of Srivas Thakur. Why? All the Sankirtan movement is happening in his home. And what did he do? This Brahman, he actually took some paraphernalia for Durga Puja and he put it in front of Srivas Thakur's home. And the effect was that this person got leprosy. So that is the effect. That is how deadly it is for us to be envious and criticize devotees. So that's why Kapila Dev here explains that it is not meant for envious. Next, he explains that it is also not for agnostics or for persons who are unclean in their behavior. Right? Like we see another example of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was the greatest impersonalist. When Mahaprabhu had gone to Jagannath Puri, he wanted to take darshan of Lord Jagannath. And he was dancing in front of Lord Jagannath. And in his ecstasy, he fainted at the doorstep. When the pujaris were trying to close the door to make an offering to Lord Jagannath, they saw who's this handsome sannyasi who is actually lying down on the door. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was called and they checked to see whether the sannyasi was still alive. And he put a cotton ball in his nose and he saw that it was moving. So immediately he said that he's still alive, he's just fainted, so let us pick him up and take him back home. And as soon as Nityanand Prabhu and all the associates found out that there was a handsome sannyasi who was fainted, Nityanand Prabhu knew who it was. And he ran to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house because he knew how to revive Mahaprabhu. And what was the process? Loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And as soon as they chanted, Mahaprabhu came back. And then we know how Mahaprabhu actually instructed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he explained one verse in so many different ways. And as soon as and then that converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to be a pure devotee. So, we see the power of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Another example which is given in the Shastras in the same pastime is of Amogha. Amogha was the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was a very envious person. He was so envious that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when they were trying to cook prasadam for Mahaprabhu, his wife cooked 80 different preparations in less than an hour. 80 different preparations in less than an hour. Mahaprabhu didn't need them, but this was the love of the devotees to please the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used to stand in front of the door with a stick to ensure that Amogha doesn't enter, because he knew that if Amogha enters, he is going to start to criticize Mahaprabhu. But one day, it so happened that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wasn't there. And what happened? Amogha was able to go inside. And when he went inside, he saw that, wow, this sannyasi, this great sannyasi is sitting here and having such an opulent prasadam. This is worse than a grahastha. And he criticized Mahaprabhu. He was envious of Mahaprabhu. And what happened to him? He got leprosy. But Mahaprabhu, he is so merciful. He is so merciful. Our Lord is so merciful. When he found out that Amogha was actually on the deathbed, he ran to Amogha's place just to hug him. And immediately when he hugged him and he gave him the mercy, he was all right. And why this happened was because Amogha was related to a devotee. So, devotee association is very important. It is not who you are, but it is who you know, right? And if we have good association, then Krishna is able to see us. We know that example of how Mahaprabhu again, when he was taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, he actually stood by the Garuda Stambh. Why? Because he knew that Lord Jagannath is going to see his pure devotee. And maybe with some merciful glance, he will see me as well. So that is the mood, right? So this envious nature we have to get rid of. Because Krishna, if enviousness is in our heart, then there's no place for Krishna. Krishna can't come into our heart. Same way, we should not be greedy, right? In the next verse, Kapila Dev is saying that persons who are too greedy or too attached to family life, that person also cannot be instructed. We see in the example of Mahaprabhu when he led all the devotees on Sankirtan, the night Sankirtan all the way to Chandkazi's house, there was actually one person in that village who thought, this is great. He was a thief. All the devotees are going to leave their homes and now I'll be able to go steal. If doors are locked, the thief has to actually do some endeavor, break open the lock and then go inside. But here, when all the devotees heard Mahaprabhu's loud Hari Nam Sankirtan, they were just running out on the streets. And this robber thought, this is great. I'll be able to go and get everything from their homes. He was greedy. But what happened? was when he saw the enthusiasm in all the devotees and he heard that loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, his heart transformed. And he also joined the Harinam party. So we see that it is very important for us to be able to give up these anarthas. Only when we give up these anarthas, then we will be able to be instructed in this knowledge. So then the question comes, have we given up these anarthas? If we haven't, then how are we receiving this knowledge? And then, Srila Prabhupada so mercifully explains to us in this purport that in the beginning, no one is elevated to the highest stage of devotional service. When we come to devotional service, we are not elevated. However, when the bhakta does not hesitate to accept the reformatory process to become a bhakta, follows the process with seriousness and with faith, the power of devotional service is such that the anarthas just go away. It's a byproduct. The anarthas will just go away. We don't have to make any extra endeavor to get rid of these anarthas. So, we should be always very anxious to make spiritual progress. If we are not anxious to make spiritual progress, we are going to be stuck. Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example of this, where there was a marriage party who was trying to cross a river, and they tell the boatman, it was night time, and they tell the boatman that this is such a big river, here we're paying you a lot of money, please take us across the river, and by morning we should be on the other side. And the marriage party slept. But when they woke up next morning, they were still there at the same shore. What happened? The reason why they didn't make progress was because the anchor was still down. They didn't lift the anchor. So in the same way, we can't make progress in our spiritual life if we are not making an endeavor to actually take out that anchor to the material world. How do we do that? We do that, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, and it's the same instruction which was given by Mahaprabhu to the Kurma Brahman. The Kurma Brahman was so attached to Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was leaving, he said, Mahaprabhu, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to come with you. But what did Mahaprabhu say? That if you just follow these 5 things, it is as good as you being with me. And what were the 5 things? The first one was chanting the holy name. Hearing. Hearing is very, very important. Shravanam. Who do we hear from? We hear from a realized soul. Now, does that mean that everybody who is sitting on the Vyasasana is a realized soul? No. However, if the person is speaking and just sharing whatever is given in the disciplic succession without adding or subtracting anything, then it is as good as coming from Krishna. For example, Bhishma, he had this wonderful boon that he will be able to leave his body at any time. He was able to see Krishna face to face when he was leaving his body. Wouldn't we like that? Who would like that? To be able to see Krishna face to face. Do we think that will happen? Haribol. And this is what Krishna says, that this is possible. And how is it possible? It is possible by hearing, by chanting Krishna's name. Krishna is present. I was telling Vijay Prabhu before this class that I always remember Prabhu's, one point which he made in one of the classes, that the holy name is so potent. Just like how Krishna was dancing on Kaliya. And when he was dancing on Kaliya, the snake As he was dancing, all the venom was coming out. Same way, when we chant the holy name, Krishna is dancing on our tongues by taking out all those venoms. So, to be able to make progress, we should not be envious and we should chant the holy name. The second thing which Srila Prabhupada here is explaining is about devotee association. And how should we associate with devotees? There are 6 ways to associate with devotees. Who remembers? Giving gifts, accepting gifts, speaking in confidence, receiving in confidence, prasadam. Offering prasadam and receiving prasadam, right? Most important. So there are 6 ways in which we can have loving relationship with the different devotees. So it is very important for us to be able to reveal our minds. Why? Why is that so important? Because it actually helps us take a humble position. We should be able to understand that yes, we have some anarthas, we have some difficulties, and we are able to share that with somebody in confidence, and we are able to get good, good knowledge from them, right? Good salah. We also see in chapter 18, Krishna explains in text number 67, he says, the confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. So we see this knowledge is not changing. It's the same knowledge. The same knowledge which was given to Arjuna is being given here to Devahuti. Srila Prabhupada says that we have to chant. When we chant, we are going to be happy. Chant and be happy. When we chant, all our difficulties go away. He also explained about cleanliness, right? In this verse, we also see Nirmat Saraya Suchaye. Suchaye is being clean both internally and externally. Srila Prabhupada always used to say cleanliness is like godliness, right? Every time he used to enter a temple, he would actually look around to see whether the temple is clean. We also read in the Bhagavatam earlier how Kapiladev explained to Devahuti that when anybody comes into the temple room should be pleasing. Why should it be pleasing? So then our senses are completely attached to Krishna. So cleanliness is very important. We can clean externally and we can clean internally. And internal cleaning is done by chanting the holy name. We also see that we should not be proud. One wonderful example which is given in our Shastra is about Vasudev Vipra. He had leprosy. And he was so humble that anytime any scab would fall down, he would actually pick it up and put it back on his body. He was that humble. And Mahaprabhu, being so merciful, he hugged Vasudev Vipra, and as soon as he hugged him, he became a very handsome man. But Vasudev Vipra went to Mahaprabhu and he prayed and he said that, I hope I don't become proud. When I was having leprosy, people would actually cross the road if they saw me coming, and they wanted to be far away from me. So how can I be not proud? He was anxious. So then Mahaprabhu explained that if you chant the holy name, you will not be proud. You will be humble. The main point, the end of this verse, what Srila Prabhupada explains is, how do we actually become dear to Krishna? And Krishna also explains in the Bhagavad Gita, which is preaching. Preaching is the best way in which we'll be able to give this knowledge to everyone, and it's the highest humanitarian work which is given. When we actually go out on the streets, knock on the doors, and give the holy name, then we are actually bringing more and more souls to Krishna. And that, Krishna says, that person is very, very dear. And Srila Prabhupada hatched a transcendental plot on how we can do that. And it's so wonderful to have both the Prabhus here, which is by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada took so much effort, to write these books, translate these books. He also said that he's coming to the US. He is not coming to the US, but the books were coming to the US, and he was just coming with them. It also reminds me that when His Holiness B.B. Govind Maharaj was here, he was explaining to us in his Bhagavatam class how difficult it was earlier to actually even get a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. So we should be so, we should feel very grateful that we are at this time where we actually have access to all of Srila Prabhupada's books. There are only two things which we need to do. Make our life perfect by chanting the holy name and giving that to everyone. The more we give, the storehouse is such that the gifts will keep increasing. It's not that you give a gift and it decreases. But here, the more you give, the more it's going to increase. So, to summarize, what we discussed today was, first thing that Kapila Dev was explaining to Mother Devahuti about the importance of devotional service. It is the main river. He then explains about what are the characteristics of somebody who should not receive this knowledge. Then he explains the characteristics of somebody who can receive this knowledge. And how can you receive it? By humbly submitting yourself to a spiritual master. And after doing that, what do? You inquire. You inquire from him. And what are the 5 ways of the 64, the primary 5 of the 64? That was explained, right? Chanting the holy name, reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day, deity worship, association of devotees, and staying in the holy dham. And the main humanitarian effort which we can do is going out in the streets and giving this gift to everyone. So we'll stop here and we'll see if devotees have reflections and comments. Hare Krishna. We have one here. Don't fight, it's okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. Really beautiful. So many nice points. And I appreciate the summary at the end. I actually have quite a few questions, but I'll just stick with the main one. The first one, you said that there was, Mahaprabhu told this Brahmana that there was 5 things that he could do that would make it as good as being with him. You mentioned chanting and hearing. What were the other 3?
So first one is chanting the holy name. The second is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, reading from Shastras. Third was devotee association, associating with devotees. The fourth is deity worship. And we also heard about how Kapila Dev explained that the atmosphere in the temple room should be pleasing. Right? When we come into the temple room, we want to not criticize anyone internally or externally, right? Have a very pleasing environment so our senses are immediately attracted to Krishna. And the 5th is making our environment such that it is like Vrindavan, right? Like right now, if you're sitting here, nobody can tell that we're sitting in Dallas, right? Every place can actually become Vrindavan. We can even make our minds Vrindavan. So, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you. Just one more thing quickly. So you were mentioned that we should hear from realized souls, and that a realized soul is one who speaks directly from the previous acharyas. They don't add or subtract anything. But something I find is that when devotees, they express their realizations in Krishna consciousness and in their process, I find that really resonates sometimes more so with things that maybe come from previous acharyas. So how do we understand that?
So personal experiences are very powerful. right? And everyone has a different personal experience, and that's okay. However, the main point should always be the main point. We can't dilute the main point. And that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada named Bhagavad Gita, his book, as Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is coming from Krishna. He is not diluting that. However, he gives lots of analogies. He gives lots of examples in his purports, right? And that is personal examples. So personal examples is very important. And this is a personable movement. We don't want to be impersonalists. By being personal, we actually are touched by what's changed in somebody's life. So, yeah, when we hear, it's wonderful for us to be able to hear the personal realizations of devotees. However, the main point should always be the main point. And if we hear that the main point is getting diluted, then we have to be very careful from whom we hear.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare.
Appreciate the class so much. A theme that I've been going through is these qualities. I have a few questions, but I'll stick with one. We just finished the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna speaks about the qualities of the devotees. And I'm understanding that, as devotees, we should understand that, that we're not only understand, but feel that we aren't qualified, that we have shortcomings, we have our own anartas, and we see these in our own life. And one of the qualities that we need to have is this tolerance, right? And however, there's some situations where we see that we might be working in service with people that are showing bad characteristics in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the office or at the temple or this or that.
Really? That happens?
Huh?
Really? That happens?
Yeah, right? No, everybody. So, and it's, to ourselves, it might be, yes, I know I have these shortcomings. I know that, these things are, however, for the service, these things don't work. These, this isn't helping communication. This isn't helping show good, show by example to the others and stuff. So how do we take our tolerance and understand being tolerant in being of these things that might happen to ourselves, but also understanding that there's a service that needs to be done, and these things might be getting impediments to our service. What is one to do?
Very nice question, Prabhu. I'm going to give a personal answer. So, tolerance is very important. And what we have to understand is when we are in association with devotees doing service, there is only one goal, one primary goal. And that goal is we want to serve Krishna. He is the boss. And I was having that difficulty as well. And I had to reset. Every time I come to the temple, if I'm leaving the temple with being disturbed, then something's wrong. So I had to do a reset. And I had to understand what is the primary goal of me coming here to do service. And that was to please Krishna. So if we keep that as a primary goal first, many things are okay. Now, there could be some disturbances which are going to happen. This is the Kali Yuga. Different people have different ideas, and they have different ways in which they would like to please the Lord, and there could be differences. If there's a nice way in which we can express ourselves, that's the best thing to do. So we can talk to the devotee and share our heart. If that doesn't work, what I have seen in my example is that instead of gossiping and talking to everyone about the issue, it's best to go to the authority and then share with the authority that I'm having this difficulty. How is the best way to resolve it? And, the authority usually does what it needs to do. So, tolerance is very important. It actually helps you to take a humble position as well. When you're able to tolerate, it shows that you're not it. You are the person who is here to be corrected. Like my Guru Maharaj, he always says, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, he always says that we should always live our life with this motto, I live to be corrected. And if we can try to live with that motto, that I live to be corrected, then we have the right mood. Hope that's okay. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
I can just make a comment regarding that. Something that's helped me a lot is seeing everything as a perfect gift from Krishna. All these so-called disturbances or whatever, seeing them as a perfect gift from Krishna. Exactly what I needed at the moment. That helps to solve the problem as well. Mm-hmm. Rather than think that this person's doing this and maybe doing it to me, rather than this is a perfect gift from Krishna, and for me to become a polished, wonderful, nice devotee.
Thank you. I also want to add one more thing, that we don't want devotees to suffer in silence. If there is something which is bothering devotees, it's very important to share and talk it out. Because if you suffer in silence, it can burn you out. So always talk to, again, we had devotee association, and you're talking to somebody in confidence, a friend, somebody who doesn't take advantage of what you share. And the second is always, you can go to the authority. So, yes, Prabhu, one more point.
What I learned from Anita Prabhu's wonderful leadership conference course is that when we have a challenging situation with somebody, we can present it, like you mentioned, talking from the heart. And it begins with, when you do this, I feel. So that takes it away from, you're at fault, but when you do this, I feel this way. As opposed to, you shouldn't do this. It's like to share this when you step on my toes every day for some strange reason. It's so cool, but when you do that, I feel, discouraged, and maybe you don't like me, and I don't know. Maybe sometimes I might think I don't want to come back, or whatever, like that. Whatever your heart is, in that kind of way, and then that person's allowed to share as well. It's a good way to help resolve things as opposed to attack program.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Prabhu.
I appreciate these 2 points you made. It's reinforcing a couple of things that there's a video I watched where this gentleman talks about when things are going bad, good. And he goes through so many different things and says good, because there's always something good in the bad. And then nonviolent communication, right? Like how do I share my heart in a way that's not blaming, but it's taking responsibility, but also sharing, hey, this is going on. Yeah. But you're also, but I'm asking for help too at the same time. It's like you.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. We have a question in the back here. A point, yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said about when we hold these things in, or when we try to suffer in silence and tolerate humbly, artificially, it builds resentment.
Yes.
That, at least in my experience, for me, if I try to do that, then I begin becoming resentful, and then I lash out at that person, and it just spirals from there. Another point is that something that I try to meditate on, because for me, when I hear the tolerance, to me it sounds like I'm saying someone else is doing something wrong and I have to tolerate because I'm so,
I'm so good.
Yeah, so what I try to remind myself is actually what I'm tolerating is my own mind. What I'm tolerating, and yeah, this is for me, this is my way of understanding, is that I'm tolerating my own reaction to what they're doing. And yeah, I do need to talk about it, and it's not like we should just brush it under the rug and spiritually bypass our feelings. but a little bit of both has to be there also, of understanding, that.
Such an excellent point. Yeah, it's a reflection. It's our reflection, what we are seeing and what's bothering us. So we should be able to realize that okay, this is something which we need to work on ourselves. So thank you. Bring that up. Any points this side? Mataji's? Something you'd like to share? Here. Pass on the mic, please.
The same point that if we tolerate, that means it is our mind that we are tolerating, because it is something that we don't like. But I think taking it a step further is also that we sometimes develop scars because we've thought we've tolerated for so long, and then now the process of how to heal.
It's very important to have boundaries as well. For us to be able to understand that it's okay or not okay. And we have to have good boundaries. To have a good relationship, you need to have good boundaries. So that's a very important point. Thank you.
Just wanted to add on to this Prabhu's point. I think it's actually more empowering to see something as coming from Krishna, because then you're not seeing yourself as a victim of the material energy. So.
Yeah. Krishna always has unique situations for each one of us. And it's a reason why he puts us in those situations, because there's always something for us to learn from. So, thank you. So we have a last point from Prabhu here. Parmeshwar Prabhu.
Yeah, just to reiterate what she just said there, I think thanks for pinning on the nail there. That I think Prabhupada, something along that says something in the nature that if we're fully surrendered to Krishna, then everything is, Krishna personally directs absolutely everything. So if we're not so fully surrendered to Krishna, then we're going to get some karma and these kind of things. So, a good point to make. Okay, first checking, am I fully surrendered to Krishna? Okay, got that in place. Okay, then this is a perfect gift. And yes, it might be a perfect gift just for me to establish boundaries, even like you were saying. But to see it in that light, like she said, I think is the key to having a community that's based off of love and trust, and not fraying that. Yeah, okay, thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, this reminds me of Prahlad Maharaj, right? Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto that what is material energy? Everything's actually coming from Krishna. So what's material? Right? Everything is Krishna's energy. And, coming to that point to understand that, Krishna's actually, this is Krishna's plan. And if we understand that part, then we understand that there's a reason why Krishna is having us go through, some difficulty, for us to be able to come out, like the hero, hero of our life. So, all right. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Powerful sentence you find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that if you appreciate, spiritual potency increases, but if you don't, it decreases. So appreciating is so critical.
Appreciating is very critical. Yeah.
This is a perfect situation. Thank you, Krishna. And then going through a process of resolve that's healthy. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kapila Muni ki jai, Devavati ki jai. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.